Noff Clipper, hi friends, Darth Momo here, and today we're going to do something different. We're not going to review Star Wars, we're actually going to review Marvel. We're going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, and what my thoughts were on it, what I thought, etc. So let's get into it. Deadpool and Wolverine, I got to see it not opening night, but the night after, Friday night, and I actually quite enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite movie. It wasn't the best Marvel movie. I don't think Deadpool is Marvel Jesus like he thinks he is, but I'm sure there's some people out there who disagree with me on that. Overall, I'd probably give the movie, I think, a 7.5 out of 10. I think the story was just meh. There wasn't a lot to grab me in there. As for let's establish real quick, this is going to be a very spoilery review. I'm not holding back, so you've got about 5 seconds to click out, because I'm going to go all in on spoilers. All right, well, if you're still around, here's for spoilers. So let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, the characters. So Wolverine is part of the biggest appeal of this movie, the fact that he's back after hanging up the claws in Logan. So how does this movie honor Logan? It does and it doesn't. So Logan's separate. That's separate from, well, I mean, it's part of Deadpool's universe and part of the Fox X-Men universe, but the Wolverine we see in this film is actually a variant. It's a different Wolverine, which, cool, because that doesn't mess with Logan or any of that. But at the same time, then we have no real connection to it as the audience because we don't know the backstory of this Wolverine. We don't know anything about him. We find out little bits and pieces throughout the movie, but that comes towards the end of the movie when we finally get the full picture. So we don't really get to grapple with that the way, like, when we watch Logan, we've seen everything he's gone through in the earlier movies, so we have much more of a connection to the character. Which, I don't know how I would have done it. I think I would have personally preferred Deadpool just takes place in 2024, before Logan. So it's just Wolverine before the Logan film. That's what I would have personally preferred. At least then there would have been connection to the character. But I think they were pretty much trying to say, like, hey, we're going to leave Logan alone. This is a brand new Wolverine, so we're not undoing the finality of Logan, which, let's be quite real, they kind of do that anyway by bringing back the actor. Which just leads to more questions. Are they going to keep Hugh Jackman around? Are they going to recast Wolverine? I don't know anymore. If you asked me a couple years ago, I think the answer was pretty clear. Deadpool was coming over and everybody else was getting recast. Now, I genuinely don't know. So as for the plot, it pretty much revolves around pretty much the X-Men timeline is dying. It sounds like it loses an anchor in the timeline, which is Logan, it sounds like. So because of that, the branch on the timeline is slowly dying, and the TVA pretty much wants to wipe it out. But they like Deadpool, so they're like, hey, we'll keep you. You can come join the sacred timeline. Otherwise, we're going to wipe out your universe. So it's pretty much Deadpool's attempt to save his universe, which pretty much involves him. He gets stuck in the void, then he spends about half the movie trying to get out of the void, and then he has to fight the big bad. Pretty much like I don't want to say she's a variant, but like a timeline nexus event. Like, she's not supposed to exist, but she's Charles Xavier's sister. Wasn't supposed to exist, so she got pruned and sent to the void. So the film dragged a little bit. I think the plot was, like, it wasn't predictable, absolutely. It didn't feel like a typical run-of-the-mill MCU movie, which I'm glad for. But the plot didn't necessarily have anything, to me particularly, that stood out or made it amazing. Like I said, it was fun, it was enjoyable, but it didn't have something like Ragnarok or Guardians of the Galaxy or Infinity War. You know, it wasn't something that absolutely stood out. One thing I do think this film nailed, though, was the comedy. Obviously, we'll have to see how it ages, but I rewatched the first two Deadpools in advance for this movie, and Deadpool 1 has, I think, pretty well-balanced comedy, and a lot of it feels timeless, if that makes sense. It doesn't age poorly. Like, that movie came out 8 years ago, and to me, almost all those jokes feel like they could have been written today. Then we watched 2018's Deadpool 2, and to me, it was extremely obvious that those jokes were written in 2018, and a lot of them felt extremely dated, or they felt cringe, or I think the film actually goes overboard with the humor. As for this film, most of the jokes landed for me, if not all of them. I really enjoyed the comedy on this one. I think they nailed it. As for I mean, let's be real, like, this was in limbo. Was it going to be a continuation and send off to the Fox films? Was it going to be pretty much, hey, we're taking Deadpool and now he's in the MCU and deal with it? And it balanced both. In the same way that I felt Spider-Man No Way Home kind of balanced not only the MCU Spider-Man timeline, but also served as kind of send-offs and epilogues for the previous iterations of Spider-Man. I think this film not only does a great job of pretty much integrating Wade Wilson's Deadpool into the MCU, we'll see how that continues going forward, but I also think it does a pretty good job of kind of being a send-off and a love letter to the Fox films. Not only do I think it pretty much confirms what a lot of people seem to have trouble understanding, that all 13 Fox X-Men films take place in one continuity, as messy as it is, but there was just a lot of little references to it, a lot of little cameos. You know, we get the 2000 X-Men version of Sabretooth in there, but Deadpool calls him Logan's brother. We get a lot of the kind of villain X-Men in there, or villain mutants in there, like Juggernaut, the red dude with the tail, I don't know what his name is. Toad's in there, Pyro's in there. Obviously, I just said Sabretooth's in there. They connect to the hero mutants, even though none of them really actually pop on screen. It was a good, fun time to see Hugh Jackman's Wolverine again, even though it is a different iteration of the character that we have no connection to. So there was all those benefits to it. And at the end, alongside the credits, we get like a behind-the-scenes reel of various clips from not just the previous X-Men films, but also the behind-the-scenes too, and a little bit of the other movies thrown in there too from, I think they're Fox, I could be wrong, like Elektra, I think there was some Blade in there, and then the Fantastic Four, since Chris Evans pops up as the Human Torch. As for the cameos, the non-X-Men cameos, I haven't really seen any of the non-X-Men movies. As far as non-MCU Marvel goes, I've seen X-Men and I've seen Spider-Man, and I think that's it. So I'm really glad that they had a character like Deadpool in there to pretty much go, okay, who are you? Who are you? Which works in the context of the movie, but also works for the audience members who don't know these characters. I'd heard the rumors about Elektra, so that one I was able to figure out. Blade, I had a feeling that was probably him, even though I've never seen Blade. Lost on the Gambit one, but I looked that up online afterwards, so I'm kind of caught up on that one. Overall, like I said, it was fun. It was a fun movie-going experience. I haven't seen a Marvel movie in theaters since Thor 4. So it was fun to go see a Marvel movie again, one that I thought was good, and definitely one of the better entries of the post-Endgame MCU. I still have some questions about how we're going to continue going forward. I think it's pretty clear we're done with the Fox X-Men universe. This was kind of the send-off and love letter to that. I'm just curious, though, because we don't, take Wade Wilson out of there. Deadpool ends the movie in his timeline. So I'm curious what that's going to mean for Deadpool going forward. I'm curious what that means for Hugh Jackman going forward as the Wolverine character. Are they going to end up recasting him when they bring the mutants in? They've had a lot of the 2000s cast pop in. We have had Patrick Stewart. We've had Quicksilver. We've had, what's his name? Kelsey Grammer as Beast. So still some lingering questions. I'm sure that'll play out in all good time. Otherwise, like I said, I enjoy the movie. I'm still sticking with a solid 7.5 though. But by all means, go ahead and go out and go see it. It was a fun time. Thank you guys for joining in. Darth Momo out, and may the Force be with you. Always. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them in the light.